What did Darth Sidious believe would happen if the fact that he was a Sith Lord was revealed to the entire Star Wars galaxy? Well, today we intend on answering that question with two very different answers. There was one major reason why Palpatine was not in fact worried of the fact that him being a Sith Lord would be revealed to the galaxy, as he believed that the ramifications could actually be positive and work in his favor. However, there was another facet of Palpatine that believed that the fact that he was a Sith Lord could be highly detrimental to his rise and continued power. And this is a reason that you may not expect. So today, students of the Force and acolytes of the galaxy, let's delve into it. Our story begins 1,000 years before Darth Sidious. Darth Bane mandated that all Sith should keep their allegiance to the Order a secret. This is due to the reputation that the Sith had made for themselves throughout their entirety of Star Wars history, being conquerors and dealers of death. The Sith had a terrible reputation of constantly attempting to overthrow the Republic, and at the same time constantly being thwarted by the Republic and the Jedi. And it is for this major reason that Darth Bane believed that the reputation of the Sith was too toxic to keep intact, at least of course publicly. And it is because of this that Darth Bane mandated that the Sith should remain in the shadows, and no individual should openly carry their allegiance to the Sith, and this would prove bad for the Order. The Jedi for generations had promoted the fact that the Sith needed to be destroyed, as the Sith were portrayed as the greatest enemy of the galaxy and the Jedi its greatest hero, which is why it was so crucial for the Sith to remain hidden. This was actually a new addition added by Darth Bane, as before this, the Sith title was wielded quite openly, and Sith were proud of the fact that they were in fact dark side aligned. But Darth Bane changed this entirely, along with implementing the rule of two. This began a great era of secrecy for the Sith, where it was important to believe that they were utterly destroyed during the previous war, and that the previous era of Sith was no more, and that the Sith were completely wiped from the star maps, allowing the Sith to not only move from the literal shadows, but the shadows of the galaxy in plain sight. From the shadows is where they would formulate their master plan and would not be targeted purely based on their beliefs and doctrine as a Sith Lord, as well as be placed upon the past transgressions of the Order and the galaxy, as Darth Bane considered this to be a huge drawback for the Sith and therefore attempted to do away from it, something that was quite brilliant. And without this, it would have been quite difficult for the current generation and Sidious and Vader to rise to such prominence. Based off of what we know, Palpatine also followed this strict doctrine by the fact that no one publicly knew that he was in fact a Sith Lord, or at least those that did were very close to him and select. It's even more telling that Darth Sidious kept this intact after his rise as Emperor, as even after he became the Emperor of the entire galaxy, very few individuals knew the fact that he was in fact a Sith Lord. The very few that did had either been outright told or had deduced it themselves, such as Thrawn or Tarkin. In the end though, Palpatine came to a conclusion of his own separate from that of Darth Bane, and in a rare occasion, he actually disagreed with the philosophy of Bane, and believed that if he so desired to, he could reveal to the larger galaxy that he was in fact a Sith. And this is why Palpatine's reasoning as to why he was not ousted as a Sith Lord during the Imperial era was much different than what Darth Bane mandated. Although he did follow this doctrine as set in place before he became the Emperor, he believed it was ultimately important to keep his true identity hidden. In a canon novel though, Darth Sidious explicitly states that he is not afraid of the galaxy knowing that Darth Vader was in fact a Sith Lord, but he does not mention or go into detail about himself being outed as a Sith Lord. Darth Vader was of course the second in command when it came to the military of the Empire, and again Darth Sidious was not shy at the fact that Vader was a Sith Lord. This is the major reason why again Tarkin and Thrawn were able to deduce that Sidious himself was a Sith Lord, as they were aware of prior Sith doctrine. So by this information, it's clear that this isn't something that Darth Sidious was holding close to the belt any longer. Palpatine now believed that the truth of his identity could be used as a weapon in his own favor, in fact, where previously it would have destroyed him, as now there was no massive force in the Jedi to oppose Sidious after he became the Emperor. It is because of this fact that Sidious believed that the knowledge that he was a Sith Lord could be used to cause fear throughout the galaxy for the Empire and their Emperor directly, a sense of fear that was not present during the Republic era, Sidious could use this to his great advantage, as he ruled mainly out of fear of his regime when he ultimately came to power, as the Empire was able to gain power through the mistrust of the Jedi, but they maintained power through fear and brute strength. Therefore, Palpatine deemed these two traits to be invaluable, and even if there were rumors that Emperor Palpatine may in fact be a Sith Lord, Darth Sidious did not deem these ideas too detrimental to his reign. However, this is not to say that Palpatine had no concerns of the galaxy discovering that he was in fact a Sith Lord, as there was one specific, very surprising problem that Palpatine had, and it may not be exactly what you think. In Sidious's own writings, he revealed that he did such a great job turning the galaxy against the Jedi, that the galaxy now feared all Force sensitives outright. This is due to their incredible ability to touch the Force, of course, which makes them more powerful by a huge margin compared to a normal individual. Not to mention that the average individual of the galaxy knows very little of the Force, let alone the orders that wield it. Darth Sidious in his own campaign literally indoctrinated the entire public to believe that all Force sensitives were evil, and wanted to obtain as much power as possible, with Palpatine arising as the true, average, everyday man hero of the Clone War, with the Jedi being portrayed as the power-hungry villains. And it was this connection with the Jedi Order, in the very fact that both the Sith and the Jedi used the Force, that Palpatine feared more than any connection that he had with the Sith. It was in fact his fear of the Jedi and the connection of the Sith and Jedi's interlocked connection that Darth Sidious feared more than any ancient Sith lore or doctrine. He realized that the galaxy did not understand the Force, and therefore they did not understand the Sith or the Jedi. Darth Sidious toppled an entire governing system because of the simple fact that they were afraid of Force wielders, targeting the Jedi specifically, but Sidious realized that he too, as a Sith Lord and a Force sensitive in general, was also at risk. Darth Sidious realized that he garnered much favor throughout the galaxy because of the fact that he posed himself as someone that could not touch the gifts of the Force, and was not aligned with the Jedi whatsoever, and this is why he became a great hero over the course of the Clone Wars, as the more common man and common man representative in the Senate, and in the Republic as well, a place where the Jedi held much esteem and power. This made him more relatable, and is the exact reason why he rose to power without the gifts of the Force to the public, as they so swiftly and readily trusted him completely. Sidious knew that if the galaxy came to understand that he was in fact a Sith Lord, that everything that he had established prior of his own reputation would come into question. He now knew that if the galaxy was still governed by a Force wielder, that they would grow to oppose him even more strongly simply because of the sins of the Jedi. Because again, the fact that the previous generation was sick of being governed by Force wielders in the Jedi Order, and believed that they were all power-hungry savages that planned to overthrow the more common man in the Republic. The ironic thing about Palpatine is that he believed the galaxy would turn on him not because of the transgressions of the Sith, although they were numerous, but because of the transgressions of the Jedi in the previous era, transgressions that Darth Sidious helped to uphold. This is an aspect of Star Wars lore that I found exceedingly interesting, as it is the simple fact that the galaxy overall hated Force wielders, that Darth Sidious was so afraid to be revealed as a Sith Lord, not due to the millions of people that the Sith have killed. But anyway, my friends, now I turn it over to you. What are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on Darth Sidious, and his opinions on what he believed would happen if he was revealed to be a Dark Lord? If you're enjoying this daily Star Wars lore, reach out with the Force and Force crush that subscribe button. And as always, may the Force be with you, and I hope to see you in the next video.